So summer is finally here in Orange County, and you might be thinking to yourself, that must mean the housing market has to be heating up. Well, it might be surprising to hear, but typically in Orange County, once we hit the summertime, that is when we usually start seeing the housing market slow down a little bit. Now, are we going to see that this year with everything going on, or are we going to see the housing market continue to heat up as we go through summer? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. If you've never tuned into the show before, hi, I'm Josh Alexander, your local Orange County real estate agent, as well as host of Orange County Housing Market News, your one-stop shop for all things Orange County. So on today's episode, I'm going to be going over my housing market forecast for the summertime. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a house sometime this year, you're definitely not going to want to miss this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so like I say with all of these housing market updates that I do every month, I know a bunch of you are not data nerds looking for all the data involved with the housing market that I'm looking at on a daily basis. You just want to see what's happening in the housing market in terms of how fast homes are going on and off the market, as well as are home prices going up or down. So we're going to go ahead and tackle some of that first before we get into what to expect over the summer market. And I promise you, I'm not going to go really deep into the data here. So let's go ahead and go over how fast the market is moving first. Okay, so currently in Orange County, we have about 2,700 homes on the market, and that is actually the most homes we've had on the market since December of 2022. So if you're a home buyer, that's great news because you have more options to choose from and a little bit less competition. Now, in terms of how fast homes are going on and off the market, if you look at the last week of sales, which is about 500 sales in Orange County, 66% of those homes went into escrow in less than 2 weeks, and 86% of those went into escrow in less than a month. And that's actually faster than the previous month, April. So we actually saw the market speed up in Orange County as we headed through May. However, things are probably going to change, which we'll get to in a little bit. Now, on the pricing side of things, again, over the last week, we saw 67% of all homes that were sold in Orange County were sold for at or above asking price. So more homes than not are getting their asking price or oftentimes above it. And if you look at the data, we're seeing that home appreciation is still happening in Orange County. In fact, a new study just released showed that Orange County, out of the 30 top metro areas of the United States, had the most appreciation year over year at over 10%. We're still seeing a lot of homes go into escrow within the first week or two within Orange County. And if you want some more specifics in terms of how fast homes are going on and off the market depending on the price range, you can check out this graph right up here because this breaks it down by price range, and you can see that basically anything under $1.5 million is going off the market in less than 30 days. Once you get above 1.5, things are starting to slow down slightly. However, they're still historically selling a lot faster than they usually are in Orange County for this time of year. Okay, so now that we have a recap of where we are right now, that gives us a better understanding and a base to go off of what to expect as we head through summertime. So the first thing that I do want to bring up is that yes, May was very active. However, if you look at this graph right up here, you can see right around the middle of May, we actually saw a peak in demand. So demand actually peaked and started going down, which is actually pretty typical for this time of year. Usually, as we enter the summertime, buyers start to get distracted. They're going out to the beach. They're having friends and family over, going on vacations. So typically you do start seeing demand decrease as we head through summer. So that's definitely not uncommon and is expected to see. And as long as interest rates remain relatively stable around that 7% range, you can expect to continue seeing demand slowly diminish as we head through summer. Now, ever since we saw that peak of demand 2 weeks ago, we did start to see the market slow down a little bit. So if you look at the data over the last 2 weeks, demand dropped by about 6% and inventory actually increased by about 6%, and that has actually increased the days on market. So what that basically is when the seller puts their house up for sale to when it gets into escrow. So 2 weeks ago went from 42 days to 48 days, so going up by almost a week. So we did see a little bit of a slowdown that has been slightly noticeable in the market. We are still in a seller's market. I'm still seeing home prices go up, especially when you look at those $1.5 million homes and below. You're getting multiple offers many times, and home prices are continuing to be driven up throughout Orange County. However, we are starting to see it slow down a little bit. Now, from this point to the rest of the summer, the biggest thing that is going to impact the market and what it does is going to be interest rates. Interest rates spiked up to about 7.37% at the end of May. However, they've come down to almost 7% in just a week. So if we stay at that 7% range, you can continue to expect demand to slowly diminish over the rest of summer and supply to slowly go up over summertime, continuing to slow down the market more significantly. Now, are we going to be in a buyer's market by the end of summer? It's going to be very unlikely. The only way you're going to see that is if interest rates spike up significantly, somewhere maybe in the 8% range or above. But even then, because inventory is so low, it would be extremely difficult by the end of summertime to get anywhere close to a buyer's market. So on the other side of things, if we did see interest rates continue to drop like they have been over this last week, which could be a possibility, while I'm recording this, the new unemployment numbers are going to be coming out Friday. The Fed's going to meet next week in terms of what they're going to do with interest rates and inflation. So depending on what happens with that, we could see interest rates back in the 6% by the time this comes out. And if interest rates continue to drop throughout the summer, then you might see demand actually pick back up again. And that peak in demand that we saw about 2 weeks ago might actually be a false peak, and we could get demand going up much quicker, again, the faster interest rates drop. So really, what the summer market is going to look like is going to have everything to do with what interest rates do over the next 3 months. Now, it's widely expected that interest rates are not going to change significantly from where they are right now. Ideally, we'll see them drop slightly by the end of summer, but I'm not expecting to see interest rates in the low 6s or anything like that, but we might see 6.75 or something close to that by the end of summertime if we continue to get the news that we need to drive those interest rates lower, which again, every time interest rates go down, you have more buyers enter the market because it makes homes more affordable. Now, how many buyers will enter the market when interest rates go down? It's going to be hard to say. However, there is a very good case to be made that there is a giant backlog of buyers in the market right now just waiting for interest rates to go down so they can afford a home right now. In fact, a recent study that was just released about 2 months ago shows that of the home buyers that backed out from trying to purchase a home because they stopped looking, 70% of them did so because interest rates were too high. So there are a lot of home buyers out there that want to get into a home, but it is just unaffordable for a lot of them right now. So if interest rates drop a little, that's going to allow some of those people to come back into the market and look at homes. If interest rates drop a lot, that's going to allow a lot more of those home buyers and potential home buyers to enter the market because prices are going to be slightly more affordable. So this, along with a lot of other reasons, is why I don't see this turning into a buyer's market anytime soon, because again, interest rates are not expected to go up, barring some catastrophe that happens throughout the world that makes interest rates rise more significantly than expected. Now, other than that, there's not going to be any main reason right now where you're going to see interest rates go up so high that you're going to see a significant slowdown in the housing market in Orange County. Now, if you're watching the national news, yes, there are going to be places throughout the United States that will see a slowdown and have seen a slowdown and home prices are dropping there. However, in Orange County, like I referred to that study before, home prices are continuing to go up, and Orange County is one of the hottest markets in the United States right now. And even though it might slow down a little bit this summer, it's expected to remain relatively hot as we head through the rest of the summertime. Now, I know because of the conversations I have on a weekly basis with home buyers that there's a lot of you out there that are probably thinking interest rates are high, home prices are continuing to go up in Orange County at a crazy pace. Something has to give. We have to see some type of giant housing crash soon. Aren't we in some type of bubble in Orange County? Well, barring some type of world catastrophe that's going to make the entire housing market crash in the United States, the chances of having any significant downturn in the housing market anytime soon are very minimal. Now, I've gone over this topic a lot of times on this channel and all the data surrounding this. However, I briefly want to go over 3 of the main reasons why you shouldn't expect any major downturn in the Orange County housing market anytime soon. So number 1 has to do with demographics. So right now, the millennial generation is the largest demographic patch in the United States, and they are in their prime home buying years. Every year that goes by, millennials are getting better jobs, they're making more money, they're having kids, and they have that itch to get into a home of their own. Yes, there are a lot of millennials out there right now that just simply cannot afford a home, that are forced to sit on the sidelines, but their numbers are so large that enough of them are able to get out there every single day, week, and month and purchase homes, keeping that demand floor relatively stable and always having a certain amount of demand in the marketplace until we get past this millennial generation. And the other thing about millennials you have to remember is, especially over the last 2 years, a lot of millennials that typically would purchase a home that just are forced out of the market right now are waiting and wanting to purchase a home. So if interest rates start to drop, guess who's going to be entering the market in numbers? That's going to be the millennials again. So again, you have this base layer of demand that is in the marketplace for the foreseeable future. And in fact, over the last couple years, we've had this buildup of demand of millennials that want to purchase a home that just financially can't and are just waiting there to be able to do so. So when interest rates drop, there's a good chance that you're going to see demand explode even faster than we thought because of that large demographic patch. So the second reason you shouldn't expect a crash anytime soon is that after the last housing crash of '08, there were a lot of new lending practices that were put into place. So anybody after that time that got a mortgage had to be extremely qualified to do so, and it was much more difficult to get that mortgage, which means that any homeowner after that point that has a mortgage is going to financially be able to afford that mortgage for the long term. And you can see that in the foreclosure and short sale numbers. So back in 2008, at the peak in Orange County, 78% of all homes sold were either a foreclosure or a short sale. So you can see why it was such a big problem then. People weren't qualified to be able to get the type of loan they had for the property that they own. Now, if you contrast that to right now, and even over the last couple years, we typically only have a handful of either short sales or foreclosures inside Orange County, ranging from anywhere from 2 to 6, which you look at the percentage when we have about 2,700 homes on the market right now, that is less than 0.25%. So you can see that we are dramatically in a different place than we were with how qualified homeowners are to have that mortgage. And on top of that, over the last couple years, as you probably already know, we've seen home appreciation skyrocket. So yes, there are going to be cases where people lose their jobs, they're not going to be able to afford their mortgage for one reason or another, but because they're going to have so much equity built up in their home, if they have to sell their home, they're going to sell it at market value. They're not going to give it back to the bank when they have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 of equity in their home. They're going to sell that home, take the money, pay off some debt, maybe go rent for a while, and they'll be fine in the long term. We don't have that problem where people are underwater on their homes right now because of how much appreciation we've had in the marketplace over the last 4 years. And then lastly, homeowners are staying put a lot longer than they used to. So back in 2005, homeowners typically moved about every 6.5 years. Today, we're at almost double that at 12 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So number one, baby boomers are aging in place. They're not moving out of their homes into assisted living facilities. They're typically staying in their home as long as they can. They want to have a place where their family can come back and gather for the holidays, and they really are not going out and trying to downsize or move right now. They just want to stay put in those current homes. And then the other reason, which we've talked about many times this year on this channel, is that mortgage lockdown effect. So a lot of people that either purchased a home or refinanced their home back when interest rates were in the 2s and 3s really have no incentive to sell their home right now unless they have a major life event that's going to force them to do so, a job relocation, their family's expanding, something like that. If they don't have that and they have that locked in low rate, just to go out and buy a property that's the same price as their current home right now with an interest rate at 7% instead of 3%, they're going to be looking at significantly higher mortgage payments. So unless they absolutely have to, they're staying in place. They're maybe doing some renovations on their home, doing some expansions if they need to add a room, but a lot of them are doing everything they can to hold on to that low interest rate and stay in that home as long as possible. So I expect in the near future that homeowners are still going to be out there holding on to their homes as long as they can. So when people aren't moving, you have a giant amount of demand coming in from millennials, and the people that do have homes are financially in a great spot. It's just hard to see any significant downturn in the housing market where you're going to see housing prices drop by 20, 30, 40% again. The data is just not there to support that right now. Okay, so if you're a buyer or a seller thinking of entering the market over the summertime or even any time this year, what is my advice for you? So let's go ahead and start with buyers first. So like I've said throughout this episode, unfortunately, there is going to be a large portion of buyers in Orange County right now that would love to purchase a home, but financially, it just doesn't make sense for them to do so right now. However, that doesn't mean that there's nothing you can do about it. So what I typically recommend is if you're thinking of buying a home in 3 months or 3 years, you want to make sure you have a plan in place to be able to get to that home ownership dream of yours, because if you don't, it's going to be even harder to get there. So what should you do to get that plan in place? Well, number one, talk to a lender. They can get your financial information and you can basically tell them, this is the type of home I want to eventually get to. What is the path that I need to take to be able to get there? And they can brainstorm with you and lay out a path from where you are right now to where you want to be. And so you have that path in front of you of how to eventually get to home ownership. And that way you're going to be more likely to eventually get there because you have all those steps put in front of you. The second thing I recommend doing is reach out to a real estate agent as you're getting this plan put into place so they can educate you about the process of purchasing a home, so that way you know what it takes both financially as well as all the steps that are involved in terms of looking at homes, putting in offers, negotiating, escrow, all that kind of stuff, so you know exactly what to expect. So when the time comes that you can afford to purchase a home, you know what to expect, you can hit the ground running, and it's going to make it that much easier and less stressful to do so. So if you do want to put a plan in place and you either need some information about great lenders that you can talk to, or if you want to learn more about the process of buying a home and all the steps involved, feel free to click the link in my bio. It's hooked up to my calendar and you can schedule a free 15 to 30 minute discovery call with me where we can go over all that information and help start getting you that plan in place to get to eventual home ownership. So on the other side of things, if you are a buyer that can financially afford to purchase a home right now, like I said before, inventory is going up, which means you have more options to choose from than you did almost over the last year and a half, as well as a little bit less competition for every home. So for you, it's going to give you a better chance to find that dream home and not have to overpay for the home, having to compete with so many other offers. And like I said previously, if interest rates do start dropping, which they are expected to do sometime by the end of this year or early next year, you're going to have that competition kick back up again, and you're going to be competing with a lot of other buyers that you don't have to compete with this summer. So if you're thinking about buying a home, I would definitely make sure you're talking to your lender, you have all your finances in order, and if you can find that perfect property, it is a good opportunity to definitely seriously look at getting into a home right now. Now on the selling side of things, if you are thinking of getting your home on the market this summer, it is still a seller's market. However, you are going to see more homes hit the market every month. Demand continue to slowly go down throughout the rest of summer, as long as interest rates stay relatively stable, which means that you have to be very careful about how you price your home, because if you overprice your home in today's market going through the rest of summer, it's going to be much harder for you to get the best price for your house. So you definitely want to make sure that you're looking at those comparable sales in the neighborhood and pricing it at or even slightly below the last comparable sale, so that way you're drawing enough buyers into the home to get those multiple offers to get you the best price on the home that you can get, and oftentimes still setting a record for the neighborhood because home values are still going up. So you just want to make sure you have that right marketing strategy in terms of price, and on the other side of marketing, you want to make sure that you're exposing your home to as many potential buyers as possible. So you need to make sure you're using all the different avenues, including print media as well as social media, to get the word out there, to get as many potential buyers looking at your property as possible. And then the last thing that I always say for sellers is make sure that that first impression counts. 90% of the buyers looking at your home for the first time are going to be doing it online. So you need to make sure that those photos, those videos are really dialed in. Your house is staged, it looks clean. You make sure that's professionally done, because if you don't make that good first impression for those people looking at homes on Zillow, Redfin, places like that, they're oftentimes just going to skip you over for another home because there are a lot more homes to look at now. Now, if you are thinking of buying or selling a home over the next couple months, the other thing that you need to consider and understand is that the way commissions are going to start changing for both buyers agents and selling agents once we hit the middle of August. So if you haven't already deep dived into the recent lawsuit that was just settled that's going to change the way commissions work a little bit, I highly recommend that you check out this video right here where I go over everything you need to know as both a buyer and a seller when those new commission rules get implemented starting August 17th. So until until next episode, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everybody.